Good morning, students. Now let's study about the next chapter of your English language, that is active and passive voice. Now, before studying active and passive voice, a few concepts should be clear to you, like what is direct and indirect object. Okay, so let's study. Now, I think so. You all must be knowing that what is object. Okay, now object is the part of the sentence that is receiving action from the subject. Okay, or in other words, object is the part of sentence that receives action from the subject. Okay, and what is subject? I think so it is clear to you. Subject is a part of the sentence that we are talking about. Okay, so what is object, students? I think so it is clear to you. Object is the part of the sentence that receives action from the subject. For example, I flew a kite. Okay, so here I is subject because we are talking about this I. Flew is verb, okay, because this is the action happening. And kite, okay, now here kite is object. Now why here kite is object? Because kite is receiving action from the subject, that is I. Okay, so what is object? It should be clear to you, students, that object is a part of the sentence that receives action from the subject, Once again, students, I flew a kite. So here I is subject, flew is verb, and kite is object. Okay, why kite here is object? Because here kite is receiving action from the subject, that is I. Okay, now next point, students, we also know that a transitive verb takes a object and that an intransitive verb does not. Okay, now basically there are two types of verb. Okay, there is one category of verb, that is transitive verb and intransitive verb. Okay, this concept should be also clear to you. So what are the two types of verb that should be clear to you, students? That is transitive verb and intransitive verb. Okay, now what is transitive verb? Now transitive verb is a verb that have a object. Okay, transitive verb is actually a verb that is with object. Okay, that is with object. And intransitive verb is a verb that is without object or that have no object. Okay, for example, the boy threw the ball. Okay, the boy threw the ball. Okay, so the boy is subject, threw is verb, and the ball here is object. Okay, because here the ball is receiving action from the subject. Okay, so what is transitive verb, students? I think so it is clear to you now. Transitive verb is a verb with a object. Okay, transitive verb is a verb with object. Okay, once again, students, the boy threw the ball. Okay, so here threw is verb and it has also a object. Okay, it also has a object. Okay, why? Let's see. The boy threw the ball. Okay, so here the boy is subject, threw is verb, and the ball is object. Okay, now why the ball here is object? Because here the ball is receiving action from the subject, that is the boy. Okay, so what is transitive verb? So here threw is transitive verb. Why threw here is transitive verb? Because it has a object, it is with a object. Okay, whereas intransitive verb is a verb that has no object. Okay, intransitive verb is a verb that has no object. For example, the boy ran. Okay, so are you able to see any object here, students? No, we are not able to see any object. The boy ran what? Okay, are you getting any answer? No, we are not getting any answer. It means here this verb ran is a intransitive verb because it doesn't have any object. Okay, so I think so this concept is clear to you, students. What is transitive verb and what is intransitive verb? So transitive verb is a verb that is with a object. Okay, transitive verb is a verb that is with object. Okay, the boy threw the ball. So here the boy is subject, threw is verb, and the ball is object. Now why the ball is object? Because here the ball is receiving action from the subject, the boy. Okay, so here threw is transitive verb because it is with a object, okay. Whereas if you see the second example, the boy ran, here this verb, that is ran, here it is intransitive verb, because it does not have any object, okay. The boy ran what? We are not getting any answer, okay. So here this verb ran is a intransitive verb, okay. Now let's study the next point, students, that what do you mean by direct object and what do you mean by indirect object, okay. Now basically there can be two kinds of objects, that is direct object and indirect object, okay. How many types of objects can be there? Two, that is direct and indirect. So let's study what is direct object, okay. Now a direct object answers the question what or whom, okay. A direct object will always give the answer of the question what or whom. For example, Beena made a cake, okay. Beena made a cake. So let's ask a question. If we are getting answer, then it's a direct object, okay. So Beena made a cake. So let's ask a question. Beena made what? Okay. So are we getting any answer? Yes, Beena made a cake, okay. So this is example of direct object. Here cake is direct object, okay. So what is direct object, students? Please listen very carefully. A direct object actually answers the question of what or whom. So you have to ask question from your own, okay. You have to ask in order to get the direct object, okay. You have to ask question on your own, okay. For example, there is a sentence, Beena made a cake, okay. So you have to ask question in order to get the object, in order to get the direct object, okay. So Beena made a cake. So only these two questions we can use, okay. What or whom. So Beena made a cake. So let's make a question. Let's ask a question from this. Beena made what? Beena made cake, okay. So are you getting any answer? Yes, we are getting answer that yes, Beena made a cake. So here this is direct object, okay. Now other example, Diya played with Rita, okay. Diya played with Rita. So let's ask question. Diya played with what? Is it giving any sense? No, it is not giving any sense. Now let's try another question. Diya played with whom? Yes, we are getting answer. Diya played with whom? Diya played with Rita. So here Rita is the direct object. So always remember, students, to get the direct object you have to ask question, okay. From the sentence you have to make question, you have to ask question to yourself to get the direct object. Once again, students, listen very carefully. Beena made a cake, okay. So in order to get direct object you have to ask question from yourself, okay. Beena made a cake, okay. So in order to get direct object we have to ask question. Beena made what? So what is the answer coming? The answer here coming is cake. So here cake is direct object, okay. So this was all about direct object. Now let's study about indirect object, okay. Now an indirect object answers the question to whom or for whom, okay. So for an indirect object, it answers what are the questions that an indirect object answers, okay. Now an indirect object answers the question to whom, for whom, okay. So when you will get answers of these two questions, it means it is a indirect object. For example, she gave Mohan the package, okay. She gave Mohan the package, okay. So let's try to find indirect object. She gave Mohan the package, okay. So let's ask question. She gave the package to whom, okay. She gave the package to whom, okay. So we have to ask actually question in order to get indirect object, okay. So she gave the package to whom? What is the answer coming? She gave the package to Mohan, okay. So here Mohan is indirect object, okay. So here Mohan is indirect object. Other example, students, he bought his father a book. Okay, so again students, I told you, in order to get indirect object we have to ask question. Okay, we have to ask question, to whom or for whom. Okay, so let's read it. He bought his father a book. So let's make it a question, and only these two questions you can use, okay, in order to get indirect object. Okay, so he bought a book for whom? So are you getting any answer? Yes, we are getting answer for his father. Okay, so here his father is indirect object. Okay, now let's study about active and passive voice now usually in the sentence the subject does the action directly, does the action indicated by the verb. Okay, so generally or usually what happens, students, the subject is the doer of the action. Okay, the subject does the action, or the subject is the doer of the action. For example, the elephant chased the man. Okay, for example, the elephant chased the man. Here the elephant is subject, chased is the action that is performed, or the verb, and the man is the object. Okay, why here the man here is object? Okay, why the man here is object? Because here the man is receiving action from the subject, that is the elephant. Okay, and what is the action it is receiving? It is he's being chased. Okay, so listen very carefully what I'm trying to say. Generally or usually in a sentence the subject is the doer of the action. Okay, subject does the action. For example, the elephant chased the man. So here the elephant is the subject, and here this subject, the elephant only, here is doing the action. And what is the action here? Chased. Okay, and what is the part of the sentence that is receiving the action by the subject? The man is receiving the action. The man is receiving the action by the subject, the elephant. So here the man is object. The man here is object. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, students, generally the subject is the doer of the action. The subject does the action. Okay, but students, sometimes what happens, okay, listen very carefully, sometimes what happens, the same sentence can be written in different form. The same sentence can be written differently such that the subject is no longer the one performing the action. Okay, now what I'm trying to say, students, sometimes the same sentence can be written in such a way that now the subject is no longer the doer of the action. Okay, for example, the man was chased by the elephant. The man was chased by the elephant. Okay, so here the man is subject. Okay, here now the man is subject. But if you read the sentence, students, the man was chased by the elephant. Now here the man, now it is written differently, and the man, here the man is become subject. Now if you see, students, now this subject is now no more the doer of the action. Now in this sentence the subject, that is the man, now this subject is not doing any action. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, students, sometimes the same sentence can be written in such a way that now the subject is no longer the doer, is no longer the doer of the action. For example, the man was chased by the elephant. Okay, so here in this example, what is the subject? The subject is the man. Okay, now in this example, the man, that is the subject, now it is no longer the doer of the action. Okay, now in this sentence the man is the subject, however he is not the doer of the action. Okay, I think so this is clear to you, but he is still receiving the action. Okay, he is still receiving the action, but because the order of the words has changed, the form of the word has been changed and the man has become the subject of the sentence. Okay, so sometimes the same sentence can be written in a different way, and in that what happens is that the subject is now no more the doer of the action. Okay, but it is receiving the action. Now let's try to understand what is active voice and what is passive voice. Now listen very carefully, students. Okay, when the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action. Okay, when the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action, then the verb is said to be active voice. Okay, listen very carefully. When the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action, then the verb is said to be active voice. For example, let's try to understand with this example. The boy caught the fish. Okay, the boy caught the fish. Now listen very carefully. The boy caught the fish. Now what is subject here? The boy. What is verb here? Caught. And what is object here? The fish. Okay, because the fish here is receiving action from the subject, that is the boy. Okay, so in this sentence, students, in this example, the subject, that is the boy, is the doer of the action. The subject is only doing the action. Okay, the boy is only doing the action of catching the fish. Okay, so when in a sentence the subject is the doer of the action, when subject does the action, okay, then in such cases the verb is known as active voice. Okay, for example, the woman is pushing the pram. Okay, so here the woman is subject, is pushing is verb, and the pram is the object. Okay, why here the pram is object? Because here the pram is receiving action from the subject. Okay, so that's why the pram is object. So here this is an active voice. Why this is an active voice? Because in this sentence the subject is the doer of the action. The action is being done by the subject only. So in this case the verb is said to be active voice. Now what is passive voice? When the subject of the sentence is the receiver of the action. Okay, when the subject receives the action, when the subject of the sentence is the receiver of the action, when the subject is the receiver of the action, then the verb is called as passive voice. For example, the fish was caught by the boy. Okay, listen very carefully. The fish was caught by the boy. Here the fish is subject, caught is verb, and the boy is okay, and the boy is the rest of the part of the sentence. Okay, now listen very carefully. Now here what is the subject? The subject is the fish. What is the subject? Subject is the fish. But if you read this sentence, students, you will be able to understand that the subject here is not doing the action, but actually the subject here, that is the fish, is actually receiving the action. In this example, the subject is the receiver of the action. It is receiving action from the boy. Okay, so when the subject of the sentence is the receiver of the action, when the subject receives the action, then in such cases the verb is said to be in the passive voice. For example, the fish was caught by the boy. Here in this example, the fish here is the subject and it is receiving the action. Okay, it is not doing the action, it is not the doer of the action, but it is the receiver of the action. So when in a sentence the subject is the receiver of the action, then in such cases the verb is said to be in the passive voice. The fish was caught by the boy. So I think so you got the concept, students. So thank you for watching.